Hi, I'm Patrick Strawn along with Brandon Coburn for another hockey wrap-up. Today we're going to talk about all our 5 hockey teams as the regular season winds down and some of the teams begin postseason play. So Brandon, let's first talk about the men's Division I team. Had a last game against Minot State, but it was still one of their probably more impressive showings, especially in game number 2 here in La Haye this season.
Oh, absolutely. Obviously, taking down the number 1 team would have been the way to go out. But for the Liberty Flames, you gotta love the future right now. They go out on a high note, taking the number 1 team in the nation all the way to overtime. They play them 2 close games, That just shows that there is a lot of youth on this team. There's a lot of depth. And if they can build off of that going into next year, this can be a very dangerous team that won't just make nationals, but that can compete with the top 10 teams in the nation.
Yeah, and Red threw this question at me during the broadcast, and I'm going to hit you on the spot with it too.
Love it.
What's the momentum that the Flames are carrying not only into the offseason, but also some of the things they need to do, especially on the recruiting end?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, this team has the building. They got the brand new rink coming into next year. There's no more construction. They already can show this off to any recruit coming in. They got the coaching staff. They got all the bells and whistles that I don't think many teams in the ACHA can compete with. It's only a matter of time before they're bringing in those top-end guys that aren't only at the top end of stats, but that can lead them into the national tournament and get them that coveted first-place national championship title that we've been looking for.
And one thing that also is big news here at Liberty, the Flames just now joined the new conference, the Eastern States Collegiate Hockey Conference, where they're going to face one of their rivals in Stony Brook, Delaware, and also Rutgers, and a couple other big-name schools such as Rhode Island, Westchester, and Lebanon Valley. So how's that just so huge for the Flames to be joining this conference and no longer being independent?
No, I love it. Obviously, this team has been playing teams like Stony Brook, Delaware 4 times in the last couple of years. It only makes sense that they get into this conference, and it's only going to add that much more of a rivalry for teams like Rutgers and teams that they don't normally play against that we're really excited to have down here for 2 games. You're going to go up there, play a couple of games up there, and it gives you something else to compete for throughout the year. You're not just striving for nationals, which is the end goal, but also can give you the, beating Stony Brook, beating Delaware, and then winning your conference, which is a huge thing to get you to nationals. And then you have playoffs, that you can win there too. So it's just, it gives that much more depth to the season, and obviously the rival. It's going to be great to see these teams come in, playing for so much more than just, standings and trying to get as high as they can, but also trying to win their conference now, playing against Liberty Flames.
Yeah, and it's also going to be huge. Also looking for a conference championship title because, as you touched on, national championship is the end goal, but it'd be nice to hang a banner with winning the conference title and tournament title as well.
Definitely.
So now let's move on to the lady side of things. The team that's been number 1 the entire season in the Lady Flames, the women's Division I hockey team. And let's talk about how impressive they've just been so far this year.
I mean, we remember back to the ACHA show, the 2 of us were on top of that one, and I don't think that in the back of our minds we were thinking this was going to be a team potentially that could be number 1 at the end of the year, but I didn't see them being number 1 throughout the entire season. You got to give credit. They didn't do a whole lot of recruiting. This wasn't supposed to be their year, but boy, are they ever taking off at the right time. They've just been dominant throughout the whole year. They just don't lose bad games. And you got to just give it to the rookie class. We got 2 new goaltenders in net, and all the rookies that have been a part of this team this year, they've done an excellent job to establish this team as not only a defending national champs, but a team that is currently the top team in the nation. We're really excited to see what they're going to do. If they can bring back some of that veteran leadership, along with the young rookie group that they got going to nationals, I think this team could definitely repeat.
Yeah, and not only repeat, they got a tough road to do it. I mean, they're playing Michigan, they're going to play Grand Valley State and Lindenwood Belleville. All teams that are not only in the top 8 of the nation, but all very good teams. So just talk about what the Flames need to do once they get to the national tournament.
It's all about just continuing to do what they've done all year, is win games and be defensively sound. This team has been so good defensively. I think they had 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 games where they didn't allow a goal. That's where they pride themselves. They got the scoring up front. McDonald, that's some nice scoring. They got the captain, Burrell. They got Jickling. There's tons of scoring that, they're going to come through. They're not going to get shut out, I don't think, in any particular game. But if they can be good defensively, shut teams out like they've been doing all year, I don't think any team has the depth like they do.
Yeah, and let's just say hypothetical. It's a good chance that the Lady Flames will win back-to-back championships. First team to do so since Lindenwood did it when they won a 3-peat. But like Lindenwood, this is a potential chance for the Lady Flames to be starting a dynasty here in Lynchburg.
Why not? I mean, this team is, like you said, won it last year. You look back to their 3 years before that where they had a third place, a second place. They won it last year. It's already a dynasty in my mind. They haven't won it in consecutive years yet, but they've been so close. In the last 3 or 4 years, they've been in that national championship game almost all the time. It's only a matter of time before, like you said, they pick their second one up, maybe a third and fourth, start stringing some big national championship banners here at the rink. It's just awesome to see how they've not only had one good year, but consecutively, this has just been one of the top teams in the ACHA.
Yeah, absolutely, and we look forward to see them not only compete, but hopefully hang their second banner up this year. But now a team that's striving to get their first banner is the men's Division II team. This team has been one of the more exciting teams, I think, this season long, because you didn't really know, you knew they had a lot of depth coming in, but they got their first #1 seeding in the region, first time ever, and they also clinched their first auto bid to nationals. And from the first preliminary preos, and a lot of other people's picks, they're placing the Flames as the top 4 team in the nation. So in your mind, just talk about how they've just been spectacular this year.
You could love when a team like Florida Gulf Coast will come into LaHaye, who the Flames, I don't know if they've ever beat here, maybe once or twice, but they've never swept them. And Liberty Flames knocked them off twice. That's when you start believing that this Liberty Flames team can go all the way and they can bring home the national championship title. Because a team like Gulf Coast has been there, they've won it, they've always been in the mix of being that team. They keep winning, and for the Flames to knock them off like that, 3 out of the 4 games this season is just incredible. You gotta love the youth, you gotta love the talent that this team has shown and the goaltending that they have. They have all the right tools, but there's so many good teams there. It's just gonna come down to who's hot on any given night.
Yeah, it will be. And now I know one of the goals that they wanted to do was clinch their first conference tournament title. Unfortunately, they fell short, losing to the eventual champs, 2-time champs, in fact, in the University of Delaware. But the Flames still won the South Division this past year, which is the 3rd year in a row. So that's huge. But in my mind, and I think a lot of other people's mind, they feel like that loss is just momentum for them to carry into the national tournament.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you have to use it for. For the Flames, that was something that you know that they were trying to win, was that first ever conference championship. And I was honestly shocked in my mind that they didn't do it. A team like Delaware, who they beat twice through the regular season, unfortunately, they just, they let up some goals. They had a slow start. They had a great comeback, but it just wasn't enough. And you just got to use that as fuel right now, is to be like, we're not indestructible. We've been #1 throughout pretty much the entire year. But if we don't bring our absolute A game, shut teams down, and don't make mistakes, we could go to nationals and potentially be out in the first round again. That's just the kind of the wake-up call that I'm hoping they need to be going into nationals and thinking, this is a #1 seed, but at the same point, they're playing against a lot of very, very good teams, and they have to bring it every single game.
Yeah, absolutely have to bring it every single game. So now let's look into the national tournament. Now I know their pool's not set because some teams, the regionals still have to happen for all 4 regions. But in your eyes, just talk about what the Flames need to do, their keys to victory to get their first banner.
Yeah, it's obviously about just getting out of that pool play, and that's such a difficult thing because you're going to be playing against a #2 from another seed. Even the 3 and 4s, they like to upset sometimes too. Remember the Liberty Flames going back a couple of years ago? They were #4 seed. They're 1 game away from getting out of their pool. It all comes down to just not making mistakes. Every team you play there is going to be an extremely good team. There's probably not going to be a game where you just roll over somebody. It's just who's ever going to make more mistakes. And I think the Liberty Flames, you gotta love having guys like Kerr, Garland, guys that have played in the Division I national champions, as well as guys that have been there before for the Division II level. They've been there the last consecutive 2 years. They know what it takes to get out of pool play. They haven't done it yet, and I think the hunger and desire is there to do it. It's all about not making mistakes, and if you do that, you can get out of your pool play, and that's all about semis and finals. Anything can happen in those games.
Yeah, most definitely. We're looking forward to seeing what the Division men's team can do, and I know we'll be there, so we're definitely hoping that us being there might bring in some good luck. But let's talk now about your boys, the Division III team, making their second regional tournament. Had a slow start, but you guys really came on fire. So just touch on about how you feel like the season just went for you guys.
Definitely a very slow start for the Division III team. They lost a lot of depth last year.
Right.
Tons of question marks about if this team was even going to be able to compete this year. You got to hand it to the guys. They came in, they lost 5 straight to start the year. Even though they were close games, a lot of heads were hanging. and they started to believe in each other. They started to win some games, beat some good teams, and at the end of the year, the team kind of peaked, in my opinion, taking down a team like CNU, who was number 7 in the nation, or pardon me, in the region, and they beat them twice here at La Haye. That was huge for not just Liberty, but the Division III team who's trying to push themselves to consecutively make that regional tournament, just like the Division II team does pretty much every single year.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only did they make the regional tournament, finishing 8th, that's one of the highest seedings the Flames have finished in the regular season, and making their second berth. But with that momentum being said, and this team is still very young, is there potential that we're going to see you guys not only make the regional tournament next year, but for years to come?
Oh, absolutely. I would be very shocked if this team didn't make it next year, because building off of, so many young guys, I think there's 9 or 10, possibly even more freshmen on the team, and they are the guys that, they're producing a lot of points. The team is going to be losing some depth players and some of the guys that it's tough to replace, but at the same point, a great group of guys returning for this Liberty D3 team, and you just have that kind of feeling if they can get even better than they were this year, and where they kind of peaked at last year, step beyond that, then this can be a very consistent hockey team, pulling some new guys next year, and that's what you got to hope for. I know it's very hard being the 3rd string team, because what happens in D1 and D2 does affect you, but at that point, if they can bring in a couple more guys, I think this can be a team that doesn't only make it to the regional tournament, but that can also, be in the top 5, and the schedule already set for that team next year is going to be very, very good. So if they can win some games next year, this is a team that you could see go very far and potentially maybe get that first bid to nationals that they've always been hoping for.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely keep a close eye on that next year, as a lot of talent's going to be coming here, especially since we'll finally get the hockey recruitment weekend, and like we couldn't get it last year, so that'll be huge, not only for the men's Division III team, but also D1, D2, and also the women's team as well. And last but not least, we want to touch on the women's Division II team, finishing 10th in the East region, just 2 spots out of making the national tournament, so very close for the young ladies. So just talk about the year they had.
You gotta love what's been happening down there for them. I mean, this has always been the team that they haven't won a lot of games. If they won a game, that was the highlight of their season. Even scoring a goal at times has kind of been like the big surprise for them. And now they're stepping stones. It's baby steps for this kind of franchise, as I like to call it, for D2 women's. And they've made some great pushes, getting in a conference now this year, winning some more games, and like you said, coming that close from getting into that national tournament. That's what they're pushing for, and they're that much closer. You just hope a couple more baby steps in the next couple of years, and they're going to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach Neemey's definitely doing a good job. But just talk about what are some of the things that you would like to see from that team in this offseason.
I mean, probably working on a little bit more speed, getting some more girls that are more role players. I know that the kind of persona for the Division II team is they get a lot of girls who haven't been playing for a lot of years. Sometimes they haven't even been, playing hockey until they come here to Liberty, and then they pick it up. They learn very quickly. They're coached very well, and I just would like to see some more players that can add some more, not just depth, but also leadership. That they've been playing for consecutive years, and that they can just help kind of train up the younger girls that haven't been there so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Brandon, thank you very much for joining us. As always, it's been good to have a little hockey wrap with you. For Brandon Coburn, I'm Patrick Strawn, and thank you for watching.